Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Yo on the Go Profiles of Leadership, where we get underneath the hood, we get behind the driver's seat, and get to understand a career, specific careers, archetypes of careers, to be able to give you insight into where you can go. My special guest today is Nate Johannes. Nate Johannes is Microsoft CTO's product and strategy leader and has been an integrator coordinator of COVID technology response for Microsoft, as well as driving on his daily tasks artificial intelligence in silicon devices. He has a law degree from the University of Buffalo, was a New York Supreme Court clerk, appointed by President Obama as a senior strategy advisor for investment and innovation, and has held multiple technology advisory roles at Microsoft. Nate, it's really, really great to have you on the program. Really looking forward to understanding this career archetype. And yours is very unique because it doesn't really fit the traditional engineering degree path to technology. Instead, you have had a history you've had a degree in history, and then got your law degree before moving on to more and more senior technology roles. Can you help me describe that path from history and law to technology?
Well, first, Terrence, it's really good to connect. And when I saw Yo on the Go, it's like Johannes on the Go. A lot of my friends call me Yo, so the name is certainly fitting because I've been on the go for certainly about 15 years, following my path, my sense of purpose, and my curiosity. In regards to, I think it's a very common question when folks see my bio, they kind of scratch their head, and certainly my path has been certainly it's been organic in its finest sense in regards to following curiosity, hard work, right place, the right time, mentorship, and I think most importantly, being outside your comfort zone and betting on yourself. That's really been kind of my path across my time as a regulatory attorney in Washington, D.C., to working in President Obama's administration as a senior advisor, and within my roles at Microsoft, came in doing business development, then worked in product management, and now work in the office of CTO. So, that path, that gateway, like I said, has been really led on curiosity, feeling okay, being uncomfortable, and certainly betting on yourself and not negotiating on your skill sets. So that's been kind of the clues.
No, thanks so much. Yeah, it's been really great to have you here. We're both car enthusiasts. We know that the engine, the vehicle is really that a chassis, right? That you can then upgrade and change, and you got to be comfortable with letting go of old things and moving on to more interesting upgrades and changes to really tune that vehicle to that right exactly what we want out of the vehicle. I'm curious. You said he has a curiosity, a desire for change, and a desire to truly be okay with change and to go for that. But we've heard about the jungle gym career where you're jumping between rugs here and there. But this is completely different. You're really going from one playground to a completely different playground in another town. And how did you make those transitions?
So I think when I went to law school, as a child, I've always wanted to be an attorney. In fact, I think the first job I ever wanted to be was Ronald Reagan, because at that time, having the ability to understand policy, well, not understand, I just had the ability to understand who the president of the United States was. I was about 4 years old. Reagan was the president. So my curiosity with law and policy is still near and dear to my heart, and I'll touch base on that. But going to law school and studying, really focusing on human rights and indigent defense, and working to leverage that law degree to close the gaps between the haves and have-nots. Terrence, that was because that's what my parents knew. That's what I knew. I was never exposed to finance. I was never exposed to tech. My family were refugees from Africa, from a small country called Eritrea, and the lived-in experiences of my upbringing were based on, achieving what one would consider the American dream, but seeing the hardship and the heartache to get there, and those who helped us get there. It was attorneys that helped us, and churches as well, and of course, the public service, the public, the public system. We did come to America and we're on food stamps. So knowing and exposing that is really, that was home field advantage for me. And so going to law school and continue down that path was continuing to, follow what I knew. And it was individuals who opened and exposed a whole new world to me. When I went down to Washington D.C. from law school as a law school alumnus, who's much older than I am, who was the president of a mutual fund industry association, and read my bio and believed in me. And quite frankly, when he offered for me to be an attorney to help navigate some of the regulations on behalf of the financial service industries, he knew my position. He knew my policy in regards to my views of the banking industry. And at that time, this is during the Occupy Wall Street movement. But I learned about this space. I spent, what I call learn and lead. Half the day you figure it out, and the other half you lead, and you got to take risks and mentors and ask for advice and seek advice and receive negative feedback as positive, because you want to take that negative and convert it to positive.
Mm.
And so those were kind of the ways that I got into these spaces. When I was appointed by President Obama, that was home field. I would never say it's home field advantage since it's it was super calculated, but knowing policy, I was on the campaign in 2006. My dad and my mom are politically active. We're political refugees. Politics surrounded my upbringing. So the appointment is certainly one of the most humbling and flattering things I've ever done in my life, and will till this, I could say, until the end of our journey called life, will still be one of the most key mark moments. But that opened the door in terms of finance and technology from the investing side of it, because I was on the
Mm.
policy regulatory side of it, and then working in administration and working the Office of Investments Innovation to inject capital into American small businesses for job creation, because we're still getting out of that slump from the Great Recession.
Mm.
I had my supervisor and folks around me as I was learning and leading, invested in me, I invested in them, and it was a success. Now, technology, that was probably because the journey from regulatory attorney to working at finance, there are some overlap, but working into technology, that was certainly a bluntly, it was doors open literally, because when I was in Silicon Valley for a trip on behalf of the administration, I was working on an initiative to get more women into venture capital. Make a long story short, I actually hopped into the wrong Uber, and there were the individual who also was walking towards the car. We decided to ride together from Palo Alto to San Francisco. And that individual, her name's Anna White, and she was the general manager of human resources at Microsoft. And Anna and I, it was one of those things where um, we had an hour plus ride from Palo Alto to San Francisco. And the conversation and what we discussed about, we went pretty deep quickly. I'm coming, wearing my American flag pin. I'm here on behalf of the country. And Anna, took a liking to politics and policy. And the Uber driver was a engineer and lost his job. He worked at Silicon Fab. He worked at a fab factory that was being sent over to the Asian markets. And so our discussions were deep in the sense of the future of work, gig economy. It was certainly the most thought-provoking conversation that I was prepared and unprepared to discuss about, because it was a lived-in experience for the driver. I'm coming on behalf of the country, and it represents big corporations as a GM of Microsoft.
That's just incredible to have that culmination of all parts of society right there, right, and in a captive moment. For that must be, I mean, that seems like that pivotal moment in everybody's life in that moment, at that point.
That's right. That's right. And so you have that captive moment of where society is going with the future of work, quite frankly, and then the principles under it. I could have just been super shy and silent, and I could have been on our mobile device. I mean, she's one of just extremely senior corporate executive. And we weren't above the conversation, right? And I always say we're in a people business, and that's the theme of it. So working in technology, I joined Microsoft. If I was going to work for a big bank, I respectfully turned down the offer to work for Microsoft, and I came in doing corporate business development, which I felt that is a an area where at least I can leverage some of the skill sets I've done in the past, partnerships, working with people, negotiating agreements. Those are things that certainly are important if you work in regulatory policy or working on behalf of the White House. And from there, once I got to Microsoft, my curiosity went from, I always tell folks the first year at the company, heck, I should, if I didn't have great mentors, I wouldn't say I should have been fired, but it was a steep learning curve. When I joined, I had no idea what an API was. And so, really those stressful moments and times and having working for a company that believed in me and I believed in the company, opened the doors to working in product and engineering because I started networking and really started blossoming my talents. And then, recently I joined the CTO's office. Um, and so it really relied on, output, hard work, devotion, and I can't stress enough mentorship. Like that
Mm.
has been this halo ring around my head has been a kitchen cabinet of phenomenal human beings that believed in me. And so it's really important for us to give back and believe in someone else and stuff.
That's really wonderful, Nate. It's really encouraging to hear your story from beginning to where it's at right now. I'm hearing a few themes. One is that you started, with a true passion and a focus on that passion and that goal, based off your family of origin and part of that history. You were drawn towards this to give back to society, and having alignment with others in that way brought you into a position of leadership in government. Not so much knowing everything, but knowing that you don't know everything and being able to learn on the job. I always like to think that every 4 years we get a PhD in something. So we want to make sure that we have that opportunity to get a PhD in something different than what we have, right now. And I think you've done that. You've jumped from these things, made these transitions, and are now at Microsoft doing something really, really interesting. I think with Microsoft, right, you have a very influential role leading our society to the future. It has a market cap of what, $1.8 trillion. That's like equivalent to the GDP on par with Italy. And so it's a pretty powerful company. And in the recent moves for decentralization of money, we're hearing things, in Bitcoin right now, the effects of remote work you've mentioned before. That technology is the forefront, right and center, leading these fundamental changes in how our society thrives. From your unique experience, right, being from history, from law, from technology, can you give us a vision of the future, your vision of the future?
Well, first, when you say PhD, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that every PhD every 4 years is called growth mindset and curiosity. We're constantly learning. I think I was talking to my father, who's my best friend, earlier this week, and he's an active runner. And I think he's learning to get old. Right? I think he's really acclimating to this thing called aging. And certainly he retired not too long ago, and he's also acclimating to having time. And somehow, oddly enough, because he has so much time, there's no time because he fills it up with meetings and boards and a lot of the humanitarian efforts he's leading. Um, I would say that in regards to the future of work, I think that I'm sorry, the future, and I think of the future, I immediately think of the future of work because we're going through a pivotal time right now. I think the coronavirus has done a couple big things to society. Um, we've stopped and had time to reflect. I always say that if it wasn't for COVID, the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, Amar Arbery, Breonna Taylor, the list can go long. The list can go longer than how much we have time on this clock. Um, we had time to reflect as a society about the have and have-nots and course correct. At least, certainly, bold statements of course correcting, because what we're seeing as a society is there is a spread amongst those who are during a certain class, the bottom and top are being spread like no other. I mean, you have a market cap company of $1.8 trillion, and we're not the highest market cap company. At the same time, unemployment rates are amongst the highest in since the Great Depression in Latino and African American communities. We look at home ownership. Home ownership has decreased within the African American community than it was certainly 30 years ago. So what we have to do as a society is figure out how is the future, and really technology led and culturally led, going to charter the new course of society. They say 60% of workers, 60% of people go to work, so 40% of us can stay at home. And when I look at it, where the future trends are going to go, it's really imperative that we provide inclusive tools to regenerate employment and skilling for those that are in desperate need. When we think about artificial intelligence, there are autonomous systems out there that are going to certainly, and it'd be foolish if we don't say, displace workers. It's very similar to the displacement of workers that we saw in the trade agreements through technology, which enabled companies to go overseas. Right, transportation was made. You're able to move things quicker during transportation, and so this next wave of technology in regards to how it's going to displace workers. So it's really important for society to this is a pivotal time to stop, pause, get smart, and create an inclusive society where technology enables all to succeed. I think it's not an altruistic statement. It's actually a statement in order for us to be a stronger country, or a stronger globe. And then in regards to what we're seeing, artificial intelligence, when I think of technology, I think of AI, because that's my sweet spot. We're going to see more computing happening on the edge. Certainly, the cloud is the world's supercomputer, but more devices becoming intelligent. The intelligent edge, the Internet of Things, devices interacting, all the data that is pretty at this moment. It's pretty segmented and segregated. We're going to take that big data, continue to do better learnings to advance human ingenuity. And so I think that where we're going to see the billions of devices that are getting more intelligent by smarter silicon, by bringing more workloads to the edge on the device or closer to the device, as well as more and more devices becoming smarter. And so we're going to see a world that's far more interactive. I think, and the last thing that I see in regards to the future of work the future of the world is going to be around businesses accelerating to the cloud, employers and employees, and how we interact and how we work and where we work, as well as certainly one thing I'm most excited about is autonomous vehicles. And we see big bets in this space, and so starting to see the world go to a level of autonomy. But again, we have to be cautious and smart, because a driver is the number one employer for men over 18 years old in America. So what are we going to do with that large population of humans? So that's my view of the future of work. I'm sorry, the future. I keep on saying the future of work because I always think, like, when I think of technology, I'm always, one thing that when I wake up every single day is like, how can we advance technology to close the gap between the have and have-nots? And I think unemployment's my biggest concern in my head, personally.
And I really hear you
As
on
somebody.
that, because it's work, but we're also talking about purpose. And I think that's the double-edged sword about technology. We're always trying to make things better through augmentation of technology. It's something that as a species we've done for millennia, countless millennia. But by doing so, we've changed our purpose multiple times. And I think it's this one thing I'm always concerned about, is that with the advent of artificial intelligence, with all of this technology working at the edge, we're going to start to see a question of our purpose. And we have to decide whether to elevate our purpose, not just to enrich ourselves, but to enrich everybody else's lives at the same time. Or do we decide to just fall back into our old ways and try to make work to make purpose? And I think that's one of the questions I have in terms of the future of work in society.
Yeah, and what we're seeing, and this is where, because I blend my world of pure technology, which I'm obsessed with, also with policy and finance, that virtuous cycle, and of course, in the middle of that cycle is called society. What we're going to see is, in order for us to have a prosperous society, it's going to be imperative that those around us benefit from the fruits of this fourth industrial revolution. And there is a pretty here in the United States, it's the society is pretty polar right now because there is a group of human beings who inherently believe that the tech industry is nasty, and what's caused folks or has been accelerant to even take over the Capitol. And so we want to make sure that we really empower everyone on this planet to be a participant or have the ability to participate. Certainly don't want to force anyone in this, or you're going to create anger amongst coasts, which will cause a division. And certainly when you're divided, you fall. And so.
I very much hear that, and I hear your heart. I hear your passion from the beginning of your career throughout now. That in every spot, even though you've changed your skill sets and your capabilities, you've grown so much. You still have that heart, that North Star that guides you to where you are happy and productive. And I think that's something that we all should look forward to and look for in our work, in our purpose. We have to create a higher purpose that is outside of our position or our leadership authority. And I think you've just really shared just something really, really important with us. So thank you so much, Nate. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to talk about your history, your present, and the future of all of us. Continue to do what you do in every spot. This has just been really special time. Thank you.
Well, Terrence, of course, thank you, and I'll leave you at this. I always say to folks, empathy is the mother's milk to a good tomorrow, and so we should always lead with empathy.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you on the program. To all the audience, this has been a really great time, and I'm looking forward to it again. Until next time, bye.
Awesome, thank you. Yo is on the go right now. I gotta go. Take
Okay,
care.
bye bye.